Hello again from the Midlands, and as I mentioned earlier on, we're talking about this year's census today. What will it tell us about ourselves, you and me, the people of the Midlands, and how will its findings shape government policy? Well, I'll be getting the thoughts today of two MPs, Paul Uppal for the Conservatives and Khalid Mahmood for Labour. The census has quite a record of shaping human history behind it. After all, it's what brought an expectant Mary to Nazareth 2,000 years ago. The first census here in England and Wales was in 1801, when the population was just 9 million. 10 years ago, it was 52 million. So when this next head count takes place on Sunday, the 27th of March, what will we learn about our part of the country? Well, in Birmingham, the number of white children is expected to fall below half for the first time, although the city overall isn't expected to become minority white for at least another 13 years. Well, our reporter Ben Godfrey has been delving back in time and through to the present day.
A school sports day in Birmingham in 1914. It's a race where every competitor's white. Now, almost a century on, schools like Chadvale Primary in Edgbaston are champions of multiculturalism. Here, there are 20 different languages spoken, and just a fifth of pupils are white.
I think as a city it should be very proud, Birmingham, that in fact it has this way of welcoming anyone that comes to the city. It makes them feel welcome, makes them feel cherished, and then expects them to contribute to the Birmingham way.
In 2006 in Birmingham, 53% of children from birth to 16 were white, but this year's census is expected to show it's fallen to 47%. Forecasts also show that by 2024, Birmingham as a whole will have a minority white population. Latest government figures already show that 43% of children in Birmingham Council schools are white, making this group a minority.
Nothing sudden, it's all progressive. And we would be lax if we weren't looking at trends and progressions as it goes through. So a cumulative effect isn't a sudden effect to us. We're working all the time as it changes, adjusting our way we deal with it.
Studies suggest there's a close balance between the numbers of births and deaths in Birmingham. What's making a significant difference are parts of the white community leaving the city, and the groups like Chinese and African communities growing fast. The professor behind the Birmingham study says public services will be prepared for the changes.
You see teachers and nurses and frontline staff in the health services already know that they deal with everybody as an individual, and they don't need a label hanging around everybody's neck to implement that and to treat people equally.
Won't interact with that school.
I joined Mohammed Aklak and son Ibrahim at their home. The Pakistani community in Birmingham will still be smaller than the white population here, but numbers are expected to double over the next 20 years, largely because of a younger age profile.
Within our communities, the marrying of early age, that will actually have a lot of influence on the census and the community getting larger and bigger. I mean, for instance, on Warren Road, we've got 15, 16 houses for immediate family who actually live on Warren Road.
The 2011 census will not just serve as a cultural record, it'll help shape public policy.
I don't know whether you've got some people who may have some language problems or may need some help with them.
Paul Glover's advising the YMCA in Sutton Coldfield. He's one of 3,500 people in the West Midlands who'll collect census data in March. He's targeting the harder-to-reach communities.
There's leaflets available, supporting leaflets in over 50 languages. Also, we'll have a number of collectors on the streets, and we're trying to recruit those from the local communities and make sure they can communicate readily with the people who open the doors to them.
You could argue you don't need a census to tell you Birmingham's cosmopolitan and increasingly diverse. It's certainly captivating the imagination of its children, the future workforce in Europe's youngest city.
Amazing thought. Ben Godfrey reporting. And just for the record, I, by the way, am a white Brummie, and I'm joined here today by Paul Uppal, the Conservative MP for Wolverhampton South West. He's a member of our local Sikh community. Khalid Mahmood, who, when he was elected Labour MP for Birmingham Perry-Barr 10 years ago, became our region's first Muslim MP. So here we are, three typical Midlanders, really. We heard, Khalid, in that report, the head used the expression, the Birmingham way. What exactly do you understand by that?
Well, the Birmingham way is integrating and welcoming people from the Irish community when they first came in, from the Caribbean community when they first came in, and then the Asian community that came in. I think Birmingham is a way of accepting people and moving on and integrating them into being Brummies.
But the signs are that the Pakistani community will double in size over the next 20 years. So the signs are that certain sections of the community are growing much faster than others. And frankly, many people at home watching today will be alarmed by this spectacle.
I think there is also one of the largest concentrations of the Pakistani communities in Birmingham, and that's possibly why, because you have a larger figures, like you have a large community, and therefore that. And I think also what you have is when you have new communities coming in, they tend to sort of grow at the rate that they were growing previously, and then it starts to settle down. I see signs currently where that community is starting to come down.
But we did hear in the report that Pakistani families typically start younger than white families and have much larger extended families typically.
Oh, huge! I mean, yeah, much larger extended families, lot greater into sort of links, which provides better support for everybody, I think.
Your co-chairman, Paul Uppal, Baroness Varsi, this week entered this debate by saying that anti-Muslim sentiment was becoming increasingly socially acceptable. She complained that it passed what she called the dinner party test. Was this a helpful intervention in your view, given what's going on in cities like this one?
Well, I think it's important, if we are part of the debate on here, for people to be as honest and as frank as they can be about this. I think she expressed a certain view. What I think is important, that community groups and faith groups do actually come together and actually tackle misunderstandings and maybe misconceptions here. For example, after the 9/11 tragedy, 2 people were killed in the US. They both happen to be Sikhs. So there's an awful lot of prejudice and misunderstanding on this issue as well.
I don't know whether you heard, but this week on BBC WM's Hard Talk programme, a local imam, Shak Azra Rashid, said that he didn't feel any loyalty to the Queen, and he thought that because of Iraq and Afghanistan, British Muslims should not sign up for the armed forces. Do you think that was a helpful observation, given what Baroness Varsi's been saying this week?
Well, no, is the short answer to that. If my own example, if you look at this, Patrick, I have a Christian name of Paul and a Sikh surname. I'm a combination of 2 cultures. That's the way I live my life, and I think that's the best of Birmingham and the best of British.
I think what do you make of the imam's contribution there?
Well, I think very unhelpful. I don't think the guy can be seen as an imam. I know the guy, I know the family. And really is a young lad who have just helped get out of Saudi Arabia because he happened to get himself into trouble when he was in Saudi Arabia. So these sort of people, when the media takes on, I think we have to be mindful of their credentials.
One interesting thing that he did say was that he would like to see more white people moving into areas like Spark Brook. There is too much segregation looking around Birmingham, and you're an MP in Wolverhampton. There is too much ethnic segregation. Surely he's got a point there.
I think that's a valid point. I think what we do need to do is, particularly with the housing policies, where the council has something to deal with it, we should try to integrate communities.
Quick word on this from you, Paul.
I think when communities come together, it breaks down those misconceptions. I have 3 children. They have white friends. They come along. They all eat together. They don't visualise anybody as Asian or anybody as white. They're just British, and they're actually Midlanders.
Well, very interesting discussion. We'll return to it shortly, but let's just press the pause button at the moment. Thank you both very much indeed. And we'd like to know what you think about this at home, these changing populations, whichever section of the community you belong to. At a cost of nearly £500 million with this census, tell us really what we know already. That's the question today. Call us on 0845 300 1138, not forgetting to tell us your name and where you're calling from. Or you can email us at politicsshowwestmids@bbc.co.uk. I'll have some of your comments, some of your thoughts a little later in the programme.